So let's get started, okay? So, Citizen Preparedness Corps, that's what we are. Alright? So a little bit about us, alright? We started up after Hurricane Sandy, okay? As a means to help prepare everyone and help increase everyone's awareness on how to be prepared and respond to and recover from natural disasters, okay? Course objectives, alright? So what we're going to do here is we're going to try to teach everyone how to respond to a disaster emergency, how to prepare for a disaster emergency, how to recover from, and then at the end we'll show everybody a little tidbit on how to get involved if anyone's interested, okay? Alright, potential disasters in New York State, right? What do we deal with out here, out on the island, right? As far as natural disasters go, we usually get what? Hurricanes, right? Flooding, alright? Human-caused disasters, right? We have fires, alright? Technological, we get cyber, we get all those scams, okay? And then biological disasters, right? You got your epidemics, the bird flu, things like that, alright? So we're going to get into it. Alright, for natural disasters, okay? Now there's a bunch of stuff listed there, right? But like I said before, what do we deal with out here on Long Island, right? Hurricanes, flooding, we get some blizzards, some snowstorms, right? It gets hot in the summertime. Thunderstorms, lightning. We don't really get earthquakes out here, and we don't really get tornadoes, right? Human-caused hazards, okay? So you have terrorism, you have preventable fires. We don't really have a lot of dams, right? But hey, structural collapse can happen anywhere, okay? Chemical biohazard, and active assailant, alright? Some unfortunately we have to deal with in today's day and age. Alright, technological, right? We got blackouts, right? Which, you know, they happen, right? You get a bad windstorm out here, all of a sudden, you know, you lose your power for a couple hours, lose your internet, right? Yeah, right? Cyber incidents, okay? So, you know, when you get those text messages or phone calls and easy pass when you don't even have a car, right? That's a scam, right? Those are things we all deal with, okay? Biological, right? So we got our pandemics, right? I'm sure I don't have to remind everybody with COVID and things like that, all right? We got our animal diseases, right? Like bird flu, which can hurt us out, right? Food prices go up, right? Or those Ebola scares when we have, when they got to recall certain vegetables and things like that, contaminated foods, right? Those are all things that can phase us in bigger ways than we may think initially, okay? Prepare, right? So our first step, prepare. Alright? Prepare your home, prepare your family, right? So we want to get where we're living at, we want to make sure that's ready to go. And then we want to get our family members and the people that we're with also situated, okay? Alright, so we want to develop a family emergency plan, right? Discuss why that's important, okay? Discuss the kinds of emergency and disasters your plan is going to rotate around, okay? Why? Resources are limited and first responders are overwhelmed, right? So, you know, think about it this way. When there's a hurricane and everybody's calling 911 at the same time, right? There's only so many police officers, there's only so many first responders, right? So we want to know how to take care of ourselves until they're able to get to us, right? Right, we want to identify the types of disasters most likely to happen to us, which we already did. And we want to choose 2 places to meet at this place, right? So what does that mean? You have your initial evacuation plan, right, for wherever you're at, and then maybe have an alternate, right? Or maybe have some family members that you can designate for you to travel to, just in case your initial meetup point is no good. All right. We want to create an emergency communication plan, right? We want to have people that we can call, family members that we can call right away to let them know if there's some kind of emergency going on. And then we might want to have some contacts maybe out of state that may be unaffected by what's going on here where we're at. That way they can kind of track everything that's going on with you, just in case that initial contact is also caught up in the disaster or the emergency, okay? Develop your evacuation plans, right? We're going to get into that in more detail as the slides go on, all right? So I'm not going to hit it too hard at this moment, all right? Plan for the whole family, all right? Plan for yourself, plan for the people that you're with, right? Plan for those family members that you may be living with, all right? Make sure the plan's not just you, it encompasses everyone that you're with as well, okay? And then you want to have your coordination, right? Coordinate with, where you're working, coordinate with your daycare center, or coordinate with, if you have family members, or, your family members have children and they're out at a daycare center. What's your daycare center's plan in case of an emergency? What's your citizen center, what's your community center's plan if there's an emergency, right? So you want to make sure you're tracking what their plan is and incorporate that in with your own. All right? You're going to build your emergency kits, right? So we're going to show you, right? We're going to show you the kind of kits to have and what to put in them, all right? So you're going to have your large kit for when you want to stay and shelter in place. And then you're going to have your little to-go kit, ideally a backpack or a duffel bag, where you're going to put things in there for if you have to displace or evacuate, and then we'll show you the vehicle kit as well, all right? We're going to get into all of that as we go. All right? Consider your individual and stage of life needs, okay? What does that mean? What do you need to get around? What do you need to evacuate? What do you need if you're sheltering in place, right? If you got a wheelchair, you need some kind of mobility means, right? Make sure we're incorporating that into our plan, right? Pets. If we have pets, right? Make sure we have them in the plan. Do not leave your pets at home. Do not abandon your pets, right? I don't want to go with your pet. I don't want to deal with your pet if you leave it behind, okay? That's a part of the family. Let's not leave them behind. All right, so next we're going to go through these next few slides. They're all going to be lists about things to put in your kits, all right? I'll hit up on the big ticket items as we go, okay? So first we have our first aid kit, right? So ideally what you want to do, right, is you want to take some small, like a basic first aid kit, right? And then you want to build on that with the things that you're going to need, all right? Things like tourniquet, gauze, bandages, okay? Things you can get at CVS, disinfectant, cold packs, all right? You want to build on your small-time first aid kit, all right? And then make it into something nice for yourself, right? And then when you're building that, make sure you open up all the packaging, okay? Some of these gauze bandages are caught up in like some crazy package deal, all right? You don't want to be in a stressful situation having to apply first aid to yourself or someone else, and you're already in a high stress situation, and now you have to try to open up and unwrap this packaging. All right, don't do that to yourself, all right? Go through it, unwrap everything, make sure it's all good to go. That way when you do need it, it's ready for you, okay? All right, protective equipment, right, or PPE, right? Some of the things we may need when we're out there, right, to protect ourselves, right? So one thing is big gloves, all right, and closed-toe footwear like sneakers, all right? Why? So when it's, say there's a flood outside, right, and you have to traverse through that flood to get to your vehicle or get to wherever you're evacuating from, all right? You don't know what's in that water, all right? You don't know what's in there. So if you're walking through there in flip-flops, or you gotta put your hand in there with no gloves, there could be metal in there, there could be sharp debris, that water's probably dirty, so off the bat, you may cut yourself, and that may be infected because it's dirty water, whatever in there that just cuts you is dirty, alright? So simply just having some sneakers and some work gloves, you just alleviated a big issue right there, alright? Eye goggles, things like that, a whistle. Don't sleep on how important a whistle is, okay? Poncho, a sleeping bag, right? If you have to evacuate and you have to get put up in an evacuation site, they may not have enough cots and or beds for everyone, right? So if you have to get stuck sleeping on the floor, a sleeping bag could really do you a solid there, all right? All right, sustainment supplies, okay? So we recommend you have enough food and water and supplies for 7 to 10 days, all right? Just because, using Hurricane Sandy as an example, depending on where you're at, it may take us 7 days just to get to you, to help you, all right? If you have to shelter down. So we want you to be able to take care of yourself and stay alive for us to get to you and save you, all right? Now, something to think about with this, right? Stock up on the stuff that's going to help you, all right? So if you're going to stock up on canned goods, right, and you hate beans, don't stock up on beans, right? Stock up on something you like. Another thing too to consider, right? They have energy bars up there. Some of these energy bars are stocked up with sugar, alright? If you're someone who suffers from, say, diabetes, you may not want to be eating a bunch of high sugar foods, alright? Same thing with sodium. A lot of these are super high in sodium, alright? Another thing, you don't want to put yourself in a bad spot when you're trying to stay alive, alright? So check what you're buying, make sure you're buying stuff that's, good for you, and make sure you're buying stuff that you like, alright? One more piece to this. So when you're stocking this stuff up, right, you may not use it for a while, you may have it sitting in a shelf or something like that, or a cabinet for a minute. Hopefully, a disaster doesn't strike anytime soon. So the expiration dates on these things kind of get a little faded, alright? So it's a good idea to get some tape, label the expiration dates on here, okay? That way, when you go, you know when they're going to expire and you're not eating a bunch of expired foods when you're sheltered in a home, alright? One less issue to deal with, right? Drinking water, alright? So we recommend it's 1 gallon per person in your household for 10 days, right? 10 gallons of water per person, alright? We even have a little helpful chart there. 4.5 cases of bottled water equals 10 gallons, alright? Now I know that sounds like a lot of water. You're like, 10 gallons of water, that's crazy. But the water is not just for drinking, alright? That water has a lot of other helpful things for us, okay? 1, cleaning yourself. 2, disinfectant. 3, cooking needs, right? Boiling water for food, alright? So that's why we tell you to have so much water, alright? 1, to stay hydrated, alright? And then 2, it has a lot of other useful needs, okay? Basic hygiene, right? We don't want to be catching some kind of skin disease or anything like that because we're not hygienic. Right? So that water comes into play, right? Clean ourselves. Toothbrush, right? We're sheltering in a place at home, right? The whole island's in an emergency. The dentist isn't going to be readily available, okay? So if you get a root canal or your tooth decides to rot out because you haven't been brushing your teeth, all of a sudden that could turn into a major problem, right? Something that seems like a small thing, you kind of roll into a big thing, right? So bring your toothbrush. Bring your towels, bring your washcloth, bring things you need to bathe yourself, alright? Prescription medications, alright? Try to have a 10-day little stock supply, alright? That way, whatever medications you need to keep yourself healthy, you have, alright? You're not going to run out because trying to get those drugs or trying to get those medications during an emergency is going to be tough. Emergency tools, right? What do we all have in our pockets probably, right? Or our purses. Cell phone, alright? So make sure we have a cell phone charger for it, alright? If we're still able to keep cell phones working during this period of time, alright? You're going to want to use it to make phone calls, alright? LED lantern, alright? Batteries, flashlights, super important. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have the batteries for these things, right? Duct tape kind of fixes everything, right? Emergency crank radios, right? Plan for 10 days. Label your expiration dates, all right? And make sure you stock up on the batteries that you need. All right, pet supplies, right? Like I mentioned before, pets. All right? Don't abandon your pets, okay? During Hurricane Sandy, when we had to go back out and check all the homes to make sure everyone made it out, or make sure everyone was okay, all right? A big issue was people left their pets behind. And then when you leave a pet alone for days on end, all of a sudden, a stranger walks in. That stranger looks like food, all right? I don't want to get attacked by your pet, all right? I like cats and dogs just like you, all right? Another thing too, make sure you have that pet's hygiene equipment. Make sure you have any medications that pet may need. Also, make sure you have your pet's vaccination and immunization records, all right? So there's veterinary shelters for pets, okay? There's places where you can turn in your pet, like a person shelter, an evacuation shelter, they have those for pets, right? But they'll only take them if you have the immunization records for your pet, right? So do yourself a favor, have those. I'll get into a document holder later, but make sure you have that stuff ready to go, all right? Document holder, right? So one thing you want in your document holder, your pet's immunization records, okay? Another thing, Alright, money, having some cash can help. If the internet's down, credit card readers aren't going to work. Alright? Local maps. Right? Does anyone here own a map? I don't. But one thing you can do, okay, is you go on your cell phone, right? You pull out your little Apple Maps or Google Maps or whatever, right? You can zoom out or zoom in, right? You can even plot a route on it there if you want. You can look on there and then you can see all the roads and all the labeling of the roads and all that stuff. You can take a snapshot of that and print it out. And now you have a map that didn't cost you anything, okay? So one easy way to have a map. Another easy way to have a waterproof document holder, right? Instead of having to pay a lot of money for one. It's just called like a 1-gallon Ziploc bag. Alright, you can take a Ziploc bag, you can put your wallet or your purse in there, and there you go. Now you have water, now all your stuff's waterproof, protected, alright? We do that in the Army all the time. Alright, more things you want in your document holders, alright? Birth certificates, marriage certificates, social security cards, your insurance policies. We're going to go into insurance more later, okay? Pens, pencils, paper. Why? So when if you're evacuating, right? Someone like me, or just like me, maybe on like a loudspeaker or something, shooting out directions on where to go, what to do, and maybe, it'll be a high stress, it might be a little stressful, okay? You may not remember. So, have a pen and paper, all of a sudden you can write down all that stuff, pump yourself out, right? I do it all the time, I'm always writing things out. Alright, so, one little helpful thing for you, okay? Try to make your very stressful situation a little less stressful, okay? Insurance needs, right? So, who knows exactly what your homeowner's insurance says? I know I don't either, I just signed it on your app. Alright, so, know what that thing says, okay? Alright, your homeowner's insurance may only cover certain things when it comes to an emergency or a flood, right? I know some insurance policies will only cover the damage on the outside of your home, not the inside of your home. Or the flood insurance may not cover what's inside the home if you don't have it properly documented, alright? So it's important, right, before the disaster, right, review your homeowner's insurance. All you have to do is call whoever you have it with, they'll go over it with you. Find out what it actually covers, alright? And then detail what you have in your house, right? I have a friend of mine, he had a Rolex collection in his house. I know, right? His house flooded, right? Goodbye Rolex collection. Then all of a sudden, so he calls up his insurance, he's like, hey, my house is flooded, and then I had a Rolex collection. I had 50 grand Rolexes. They're like, did you have it documented? The guy goes, no, and then he had to eat that, alright? Don't put yourself in that situation, okay? Document what you got. Document, if you have nice jewelry or anything like that, document it. Maybe photograph it. That way, if that stuff gets destroyed in a storm, you have proof to show the insurance company, alright? Alright, your evacuation to go kit or your to go bag, right? If you have to evacuate. Alright? So like I said, backpack is key here. Backpack always works. Alright? Or a duffel bag, but I highly recommend a backpack. Alright? Backpacks never go out of stock. Check. So what you want to put in there is all those things I was mentioning, alright? Your essential items. But you want to tailor it to you. Alright? And you want it to go kit for each person in your household. Alright? Everyone gets their own bag. Why? If you get separated from your family or whoever you're with, right, and only one person has all the stuff, all of a sudden you kind of put yourself in a spot, alright? So make sure you have your own backpack with your own essentials in it. That way if you're separated, it just makes whoever finds you that much easier to get you back where you need to be, alright? So go get supplies, right? Sturdy bag, backpack, you want to put your first aid kit in there, protective supplies, sustainment supplies, right? Which, food, your hygiene, your emergency tools, your document holder, right? You want to try to fill that thing up. Fill that thing up with everything you need, right? Don't leave any space. Prepare your vehicle, alright? If you've got a car and your car breaks down and all of a sudden you're stuck, make sure you have some food in there, some water, alright, some stuff to get you by for a bit. It may take a while for the cops to get there to help you, or for someone to get there to help you, right? I tried to drive from Islip to Farmingdale, it took me like an hour. So imagine how long it could take someone to get to you sometimes, right? another thing too is maintain your vehicles, all right? I know when I was younger, I used to drive until the wheels fell off my car, and then I would get new wheels. Don't do that, all right? It's going to be too late if there's an emergency or something like that. The mechanics are going to be in the same emergency you are in, all right? So make sure you're maintaining your vehicle, all right? Make sure the tires are good. Don't drive them until they're flat, all right? Get them checked regularly, get them replaced regularly. Same thing with the gas, all right? I used to drive until the gas light came on. That's when I knew to get more gas. That's incorrect, all right? Try to keep yourself at least half a tank. That way, if something does happen, all right, you can at least get around a little bit, all right? You can at least get to that family member's house or get to where you want to go to shelter down, all right? You don't want to have no gas and then all of a sudden you're stuck in a place you don't want to be, all right? All right, prepare your home. All right? So prepare your home, right? This kind of goes into our natural disasters, right? Fire, carbon monoxide, home utility safety, all right? Make sure we're prepared for things like that, all right? Fire is one of the highest yielding casualty producing disasters in America, all right? So first step in fire prevention, right? Smoke alarms, right? Make sure your smoke alarms work. Don't turn them off. Alright, just because they're going off like crazy, that just is a new battery. It doesn't mean take the battery out and then put it back up there so it stops annoying you, okay? Alright, make sure our smoke alarms work. Alright, if you're trying to cook and it goes off, it's probably working, alright? So make sure our smoke alarms work, make sure we're checking them regularly, alright? Make sure we're changing the batteries out when we need to, alright? That's our first step, alright? If you're asleep and then you have a fire, that fire's probably going to spread a lot further than it needs to before you wake up and notice it. Now you have a full-scale fire, right? Fires don't always happen when we're awake. Alright, fire extinguishers, okay? So we're going to go over the fire extinguishers. Before we do that, we're going to go over the 3 different classes of fires, alright? So first we have Class A fires, alright? That's our ordinary combustible fires. That's wood, paper, things that happen, a little bit more common type of fires, all right? Then we have Class B, which is flammable liquids, kitchen, grease, oil, gasoline. And then finally we have Class C, which is our electrical fires, okay? Does anyone know, if you have a grease fire in your kitchen, right, can you put water on it? No. That's excellent, all right? Yeah, everyone here's got it. All right? Well, the best way to, someone who doesn't know, all right? The best way to kind of be prepared for all 3 without, having expert knowledge on it, just get a fire extinguisher that covers all 3, all right? So as you can see, I'm kind of walking around. The fire extinguisher has little pictures just like those on the fire extinguisher itself. That lets you know what kind of class of fires that fire extinguisher is for, right? Best way to be prepared, just get a fire extinguisher that covers all 3, all right? That way, any kind of fire that pops up in your area, your house, or your home, you can just whip this fire extinguisher out, and you know it's going to take care of it, okay? Alright, now to use a fire extinguisher, we have a fun little acronym called PATS, okay? PATS. Super easy, right? So the first thing for P, we're going to pull the pin, right? Fire extinguisher is going to have a pin on it, just like this, and we're just going to pull it. It pulls right out, alright? Doesn't take a whole lot of strength, just pull that thing right out. Alright, next we're going to aim, alright, so we're going to aim the nozzle, just like this, we're just going to aim it right at the fire, alright. S, we have squeeze, alright, so once you pull that pin out, the handle is pretty easy to squeeze, it's not some like high pressure handle deal, alright. You're just going to squeeze it, normal amount of pressure, it'll go, and then you want to aim it at the base of the fire, alright, sweep at the base of the fire, okay. Just like this. If it has like a nozzle on it, you just sweep at the base of the fire, okay? Now I know before I kind of learned this acronym, I would have been just spraying this thing like on top of the fire, or I just would have been shooting all over the place, just trying to take the fire out, alright? Don't do that. Just spray it, sweep at the base of the fire. It'll take it out, I promise, alright? Super easy. Alright, lithium batteries, right? So this is a new thing in our presentation, right? What to do with lithium-ion batteries, okay? Alright? Why do they catch fire, okay? If not treated properly, lithium-ion batteries can extremely overheat, creating thermal runaway, which causes large violent fires, right? Damaged, defective, or uncertified batteries have a greater risk of causing thermal runaway or explosions, okay? How do you prevent this, right? So just like with normal batteries, okay, what do we do with normal batteries, right? We check them periodically, right? Make sure they're working. Same kind of concept here, right? We want to check our batteries, check our lithium-ion batteries, make sure there's no corrosion, make sure the battery's not damaged, things like that, all right? As long as we're doing that, they're going to be okay, all right? Just make sure we're checking our batteries. If you see corrosion on there, or you see that the battery is maybe dented or damaged, all right, don't continue to use it. Take it out of the device and get a new one, all right? Now to get rid of batteries, all right, or how do we prevent lithium-ion based fire, just like I said, all right? You want to purchase products from reliable manufacturers and vendors, all right? You want to look for a nationally recognized certification laboratory and then check for recalls before buying, all right? So those three symbols right there are examples of nationally recognized certified lithium battery dispensers, all right? That said, you don't want to just be buying like those electric scooters. You don't want to be buying like knockoff electric scooters with some crazy unknown battery, all right? The thing is, like, those are more susceptible to catching fire, so that's why that's there. You know, if you're buying an electric scooter, make sure you're buying it from a reputable company, like a legit company that's not some off-market thing, all right? All right, how do I dispose of lithium-ion batteries, all right? Never throw away your lithium-ion batteries in the household trash or recycling bins, right? Just like regular batteries, same concept, okay? Call2recycle.org has several options available for proper disposal of lithium-ion batteries, okay? Same way you deal with your regular batteries, the same way you're going to dispose of your lithium ions, okay? All right, next, carbon monoxide, all right? Carbon monoxide. So the thing with carbon monoxide is the first line of defense for us in our homes and where we're at is the carbon monoxide detector, okay? So carbon monoxide is a odorless, invisible gas, all right? So that's why they call it the silent killer. We can't see it and we can't smell it, right? So make sure our detectors are working, all right? Make sure we have batteries in them, all right? And make sure they're working, all right? The same kind of thing with your smoke alarms, all right? Don't just take the battery out because it's going off all the time and you think it's annoying, all right? Don't do that, all right? Make sure it's working. Make sure you keep fresh batteries in there. Make sure you get inspected periodically, okay? The best way to kind of, if your smoke alarm maybe misses it or something like that, because the symptoms are just like if you were sick, right? If you had the flu. So something to go by, if you're in a room full of people and you feel like you're sick and everyone else is fine, all right, probably maybe you're just sick. If all of a sudden you're sick and everyone in the room is sick, all right, this could be carbon monoxide, all right? The best thing to do is just get up, leave that area, go outside, and then call emergency services to come and check it out, right? Home utility safety, right? So make sure after physical damage or flooding, right, your furnaces, your water heaters, your electrical panels, all right, make sure we're turning them off, all right? So if you have to evacuate your home, okay, and you're going to be gone and there's about to be a hurricane that could potentially damage your home, it's a good idea to turn off your utilities, right? So how do you do that? First step, you identify how to turn off your utilities, all right? So if you don't know, you can call a utility professional to come show you, all right? But know where your electrical panel shut-off is, know where your water main shut-off is, all right? Know where if you have fuel, if you have propane, know where all those shut-offs are, all right? And it's not just in case there's an emergency too. One time I had my house, a pipe froze, all right? It burst, and I had a bunch of flooding in my house. I didn't know where the water shut-off was. And I had to run around and my house flooded 12 inches before I could figure it out, all right? Know where that stuff's at, all right? Just for general use, all right? And then tools, right? You may need tools to shut some of these things off, like a water main. That thing may be a little too rusty for you to turn naturally. You may need a wrench, right? Check it out, find out. Have those tools there and put them with the shut-offs. Just put them right next to it. You can use some duct tape. Duct tape it right next to the main. All right, that way, if you need to shut this stuff off, the tools are there to do it and you know how to do it, okay? Which segues into, once we've turned them off, never attempt to turn them back on without having a professional come and inspect, okay? Why? So, back in, over in Staten Island after Hurricane Sandy came, okay? People's homes were damaged, structurally unsound, but you know, naturally, what do you want to do after a storm? Or what do you want to do in general, right? You want to be at home. So people were going home, they wanted their power on, they wanted water, so they were just turning on their electric, they were turning on their gas, and their houses were burning down. Alright? They were burning down so much, they actually had to turn the grid off, so they could have people go out there and inspect them, okay? If you go back to your home after an emergency, or you turn off your utilities, you leave, and you come back, you don't know what happened inside your house, alright? All it takes is one pipe to be cracked. All it takes is one electrical wire to get severed or damaged, and then all of a sudden, or your electrical panel will get cracked in some way, and then all of a sudden when you turn that back on, it's going to cause a fire. It could burn down your whole house. Right? You just made it through an emergency or a disaster. The last thing you want to do is lose whatever you have left just because you didn't want to wait a little bit longer, okay? Alright, personal safety, okay? Personal safety, right? Learn basic aid. Why? So a lot of these situations, right, if you haven't caught the theme, a lot of these situations, first responders aren't going to be able to be there to help you right away, alright? So if you know your own basic first aid, that could really help you out a lot. If you catch some kind of minor injury, alright, you're going to be your own first responder for a little while until we can get you help, alright, which could take time, okay? So learning basic first aid, always a great idea. Alright? The Red Cross offers courses online and offers classroom courses, hybrid options like Zoom or anything like that. Libraries offer courses. I'm sure if you just look online, you'll find it no problem. Okay? Alright, personal safety, extreme heat. Right? Summer's almost over, but it's still here, right? What happens on Long Island in the summertime? It gets hot. Right? We get 100 degree days. That happens. Alright? So, what to do in extreme heat, alright? Extreme heat is defined when there are 2 to 3 days in a row of intense heat and humidity with temperatures 90 degrees and above. I don't know about you, but we definitely get those on Long Island, alright? Definitely. Alright? Take steps to stay cool, okay? Make sure you have air conditioning in your home, or at the very least, try to have some fans, so at least if you can pop the windows, you can have some fans for ventilation, alright? Watch for heat cramps and heat exhaustion, okay? So, heat cramps and heat exhaustion, alright? So if you're out there, God forbid you gotta get stuck out in the heat for a period of time, all of a sudden your skin starts to get clammy, you start getting a little dizzy, alright? Get a little shaky on your feet, you know, you're all of a sudden you're not sweating anymore, you were sweating but now you're not, alright? Those are signs of heat cramps and heat stroke, alright? If you have that happen to you, alright, that's your body telling you, hey, stop what I'm doing, get in the shade, sit down, drink some water, alright, try to recover, okay? Don't just push through, because what can happen is you can actually have a heat stroke and you'll just pass out, alright? And then, you know, that's super bad, alright? You have to get help immediately, alright? So don't put yourself in that spot, alright? Drink water, try to stay out of the sun, and avoid that kind of stuff, alright? And then watch out. If you're out, like I said, if you're out in that sun and all of a sudden you're getting dizzy, your skin's getting all clammy, you don't feel well, hey, that's heat exhaustion, alright? You need to stop what you're doing and get in the shade, drink water ASAP. Check? Alright, personal safety cyber. Alright? Awareness and hygiene. Alright, so I know every time you log into something nowadays, it's a 2-step verification. They make you have a crazy password, right? Why? Because people are scamming, unfortunately. People are out there trying to steal your personal information, so you just gotta watch out for that kind of stuff, all right? Watch out for shady text messages. Watch out for emails promising you $10 million, okay? All right, those things are all scams, okay? So don't click on links you're not familiar with. All right, I know I got a letter the other day from my bank saying I was default on like my credit card payments. I was like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. I physically called my bank and they said, no, that's not true, it's a scam. Alright? So when you get these like weird things in the mail and they got, you know, they got the names of where your bank is and stuff like that in it, never hurts to double check, right? Just like with the passwords. Two-step verification. Two-step verification that. Call your bank, call your insurance company, and double check. Be like, hey, is this legit? You know what I mean? And they'll tell you. Alright? So just be careful out there. Alright? Be aware and stay updated, okay? So we have a lot of wireless alert systems now with the phones. Alright? This is all stuff to help you and help everybody else, alright? So we have the WEA, wireless emergency alerts, right? We have NY alert, which you can register with that link, but that link's also in your pamphlets and stuff like that, so don't stress trying to write it down, okay? You got your warning sirens, right? I'm sure you hear those on Friday sometimes. You're like, what's going on? Alright, those are the warning sirens. Alright, you have emergency alert system, and then you have your normal radios, right? Anyone have a boat? Yeah. So like normal radios, right? Those are those weather radios, okay? If you get your hands on one, it's just gonna send you a bunch of information about the weather, alright? We also have 333-111, alright? Text your county or borough to receive real-time emergency and weather alerts, right? So that's something you can just do that from your phone. You don't need a normal radio, alright? So all these things are designed to help you, alright? Keep you safe, keep you alert, alright? So next, I'm going to hand it Alright. Next, I'm going to hand it off to my partner, Sergeant. Alright?
There you go. Probably trying to see the Yankees won last night. Did they?
Yes.
All right, there you go. Jets and Giants and everything. I lost track and then. All right. I don't know. I'm getting a little nervous. Like I'm hoping the wild card. I don't know. We'll see. I guess. Beginning of the year, I thought we were going to win the whole thing, but we'll see. All right, so we're up to respond. All right, we're up to respond. Thank you very much, Sergeant. I appreciate it. All right, so how are we going to do it? So, Big Sarge went over a few really good things, right? But there's really only two things that can happen, right? If we're going to respond, they're either going to have a shelter in place or evacuate. Okay, so shelter in place is what we want to do. All right, shelter in place is what I want to do. That's what I wanted to do this morning, right? Like I didn't want to come here, right? Like I wanted to stay in my house, right? Because that's what we want to do, right? Because that's where your stuff is. Right? You don't want to leave. So that's kind of what we're doing most of the time is shelter in place, right? And Big Star Kelly went over it, right? We want to use a plan, stay home safely. We got an emergency kit, right? He showed us how to get all that food and water, and then we evacuate. All right? If we have to evacuate, look, I've been doing this for a long time, right? Since I had a full head of hair, I've been doing this. And I'll tell you, when I got out of the Army and I joined the National Guard, like one of the things we had happen was Hurricane Sandy. When Hurricane Sandy happened, I was one of the people, we got the buses together to try and get people out of the Rockaways. Right? So I think we had, I want to say it was 17 buses for 12 hours trying to get people on the buses to get out of the Rockaways. You know how many people got on them buses?
6.
4 people. 17 buses, 12 hours, 4 people, right? I spent the next several weeks taking people out of houses that didn't make it, right? Because they didn't believe it, right? And I get why people didn't believe it. I do, right? I live in Long Island too. And you watch the news and this hurricane's gonna be so bad, it's gonna be the worst thing ever, and it rarely is. Right? But when people go through all the trouble and say it's probably time to leave, like I get it, right? I want to stay home. I'm trying to find out if the Yankees won now, right? Because I want to stay home one day. But I get it, right? But if somebody's telling you that it might be time to evacuate, I would ask you to please take that very seriously. All right, so if we're going to shelter in place, what are we going to do? Let somebody know, right? Check on your neighbors. Check on your neighbors. I got nice people across the street. All right, if I'm not checking on them, I'm always nervous. Just got to keep an eye on some people. All right, maintain communication. Use that weather radio. Don't stare at your phone and just get bad news, right? Just use some more stable stuff there. Look, shut off your utilities. All right, always a good thing to do. Like if there's a hurricane coming through, don't just wait for the power to go out because it's gonna go out. All right, just turn it off, right? And then turn it back on later because this way you don't get surges and stuff through your house. Okay, here it says ventilate your generators. Look, don't do that. Don't. Like, put your generator outside. Like, just put it outside. I cannot tell you, right? I've been doing this for a long time. Every time there's an emergency, they send me places, and I go to places and open up doors and find stuff I don't want to find because somebody's been running a generator in their kitchen so they can watch TV. Like, don't do it. It's gonna kill you. Like, we just had the, I don't know if it was year times flat circle, I'm getting old now, but like in Buffalo, we just had that blizzard the last couple of years. All those people who died because they had a generator running in their house. That's just what it is. We would open up the house and, they got carbon dioxide poison. Right, don't do it, put it outside. Stay alert for boil water orders. We live in Long Island, I've never seen a boil water order. But, what is it? It says if there's some sort of bacterial contamination, all right, you should boil it. Look, they give us like instructions here to boil water, which, all right, I'm going to give you because they pay me and why not, right? So look, if you've got water and you've got to strain it through a cheesecloth or a coffee filter, like, just don't drink it. Like, I don't even know who put this, that's crazy, right? Like, we live in Long Island. Look, that's gross. Like, why would you do that? All right, so number 2, let it come to a boil. Number 3, let it cool, seems super important, right? 4, we're going to put it in some sort of sanitized container, which I guess makes sense. I don't want to put it in like a dirty jar, I guess, right? And refrigerated. Again, I've never seen one of these, right? I've been here most of my life on and off, so. But don't, if you got to put it through a strainer, like, dear God, then just, oh God, have something else. All right, this is what we got to do too, right? This is my nightmare. So if a building falls on you, dear God, identify you're trapped and try and get out and scream for help. Like, those are the things they got for us, right? If you're trapped, I'm going to tell you right now from a very safe distance. All right, I'm going to call and may call 911 and make sure you're okay, right? But like, I don't know, see if you can free them. I don't know. This one's crazy to me. I don't think buildings fall down too often. All right, but if it happens, be safe. Use that whistle that's in that bag. All right, so look, this is the important stuff. This is like realistic stuff. All right, so look, if you have to evacuate, I always say use those rules your mother had for you in high school, right? Tell them when you're leaving, where you're going, and when you get there. Right? Like, super simple, right? Super simple. Or we have for our kids or something, right? So alert your neighbors, follow the instructions, let somebody know where you're going. Do have a plan for your pets, please. Please have a plan for your pets. Again, during Hurricane Sandy, when I was knocking on those doors, right, there was some hungry dogs in those doors. Right? Like, don't do it, man. Please don't do it. I want to try and chew on my legs. All right? So secure your home. If you got time, sure, lock it. Take that emergency kit and tell somebody where you're going. Right? Tell somebody where you're going. People always forget this. Look, when I was a kid, you guys were in something similar, right? In the kitchen, my mother had a cabinet. You open the cabinet, there was a list of everybody's number that she knew, everybody's name and number inside that she knew, right? And if at some point we like stop doing that, they start doing that again. It takes almost no effort. When you lose power and everything's going weird, right? You got everybody's number written down, and you can just call them, okay? And as opposed to like panicking and trying to go through your phone and there's no electricity and where's your generator or I don't know, whatever, right? Just write that stuff down. Let those people know. All right, so be alert. Terrorist operations begin with extensive planning, right? We can prevent this and detect it. Watching for suspicious activity. If you see something, say something. I learned how to spot suspicious activity. You know how to spot suspicious activity, right? Like, my mother called me like a few weeks ago to tell me that some lady planted different colored flowers across the street, right? And you guys know your neighborhood, right? I know my neighborhood not as well as my mother knows the neighborhood, right? But like, you know your neighborhood, right? If somebody's doing something way out of sorts, you should know, all right? You should know. And if it seems really weird, tell somebody. Also, describe suspicious activity. Look, if you've got to call the police for some reason, right? Everybody here probably seen watched Channel 12 sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. And every man who commits a crime on Channel 12 is between 5.5 and 6 feet tall, wears a blue sweatshirt, and has a baseball cap, right? Medium, like that, right? There's 8 of us in here right now. Right? Like, you want to try and get some specifics so the poor police officer who gets this list, right, is arrested like his dad or something, you know? Like, we want to get it more specific. All right, so look, if you're in danger, 911, right? Self-explanatory, I think everybody knows that. So we got a couple other good things here. If you see suspicious behavior, you can call this TIPS line. which New York State terrorism line we've got right here. This is also in your book. All right, we just report activity, suspicious activity in there as well. Okay, also in your book. Good stuff, right? Good things to have. If you see something, send something. This is also in your book, but if you see something and you find yourself, I don't know, you're on a train, somebody's doing something weird, you want to call up and be like, hey, police officer, you know, somebody's doing something strange next to me, and you can take a picture of it and send it to them, like a text message, which I think is a super neat idea, actually. And, you know, it goes up to these folks up here, because we evidently have a New York State Intelligence Center. Who knew, right? Why not? Got everything else. All right, so look, this is the part, they always make me do this. The active assailant. So look, when I was younger, right, I'm a certain age, like this stuff didn't exist when I was a kid. It wasn't a thing. Or when I was a young man, it wasn't a thing either. All right, so, but now it's on the news all the time. So what's an active assailant? Individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined, populated area. Always using a firearm, unless it's most always. All right, and usually over in 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, usually over in 10 or 15 minutes. So that's where this is all going to come to. Guys, every time we turn on, I'm trying to think. Where did I see one? I just saw one in the last couple of days. Not too long. I see them on the news all the time, like if somebody actively shooting someplace. I'm trying to.
Church last week.
That was it. It was the church last week. Make it sick. So when they made this, when they put this thing together, I don't know where they come up with these. They picked up some ones, I guess, I don't know where they come up with these. Tops market in Buffalo, PA, I mean just these jigs is terrible. Bourbon Street, New Orleans, that was last year. Florida State University last year. All right, Las Vegas, that was a couple years ago. That was crazy, just crazy. All right, so look, they recommend you do 3 things. Right, they recommend you do 3 things. So they're called run, hide, and fight. I want to stress that they are not in any particular order. Right, they're not. They're just up there. Okay, so look, I've spent the better part of my career wearing this. Right, and in this, I'm a combat armed soldier, right? And if there are bad guys someplace, right, there's only really 3 things I can do if there's a bad guy who wants to hurt me, right? And number 1 is going to be like increase the distance between me and the bad person. Like that is why you think we're always running, people. You know what I mean? Like that's it. You know, there's no real mystery. That's why we're doing it. All right. So if somebody bad out there, somebody's got bad intentions, you want to increase the distance between this. If you can't, you want to hide in such a way that they don't see you, right? And last but not least, God forbid, right, we've got to be ready to fight. If we fight, we're in it to win it, people. That's how we do it. Now, some things to keep in mind, all right? If this was an Army class, if this was like an actual Army class and you guys were in the Army, hey, you would be a lot less happy, all right? And just be what it is, you all have short hair, you'd be a lot different, right? But like, I would start this class, right, and I would say, you know, good morning, I'm Command Sergeant Major Jack Martelotto. We're going to do this block of instruction. All right, we've got exits in the back of the room. We've got an exit over here. In case of an emergency, we will rally across the parking lot near the tennis courts, where I will take a quick attendance and find out how many we have. If that is unavailable to us, we will rally in the middle of the street over there where we will stop traffic, because we're in the Army and we can do whatever we want. And you know what I mean? But like, that's how we start everything. Right? So every class I've ever taken, I'm doing this for longer than I have, right? And it's just how we always do it. And I'll be honest with you, that whole time, it's never come up. Like, I've never needed to use it. But it's always there, right? It's always there. The second bullet, they always say no exits. I don't even know what that means, because I don't know how you got in the room if there's no exits. But, you know, if there is no exits, something strange has happened to you, and you should be very careful going forward. Make awareness part of your routine, your family's routine. Just keep... I don't know, a lot of times we just kind of blindly go through things. I do this all the time, right? Like I just kind of get in my car and I'm going to work and I get my coffee and I've got like 10 things I do in the morning. You know, like that happened to me like last year. The highway department put like an orange cone out in the middle. I didn't even see it, I just ran right over. Like I didn't even know it was there. You know what I mean? Because I just do the same thing every day. And I'm like, holy mackerel, you know, I gotta wake up, man. Right? You got small children, mobility issues, special needs. If I'm someplace and I've got to get somewhere and I've got to do something different, right? How do I get my kids to come with me? I can't get my kids to do anything. Right? Like I got to motivate them to do it, right? If I go out and I'll eat with my parents, like, all right, how am I getting them to come out with me? Like, how are we pulling this off? All right? It's not something you really got to obsess about, but it's probably a good idea about something to think through. All right, it's another thing. If there is, God forbid, an active shooter, right? Who's coming? The police are coming, right? That's their job. Now look, their job is not to help us. That's not their job, right? Their job is to stop the bad person from doing the bad things, right? So look, a couple things. And this is always easier said than done. You guys sneak out for me? All right. I imagine it's easy. I've never been in this situation, but I imagine it's easier said than done, right? They're just going to run past all the crazy stuff and hopefully try and take care of like the bad person doing the bad things, right? But the idea of it, and they tell us to make sure we tell you, is like let them do their job, right? Give them a wide berth. And again, right, this is very easy for us to sit here and say, like, I don't know. Right? It's probably a crazy situation. It is a crazy situation. It's also crazy for them, right? Police officers are just people, you know, and they're probably all amped up and they're probably all worried, right? So kind of for that period, that 10, 15, 20 minutes, right, we're responsible for our own first aid, our own safety, our own everything. All right, it's probably a pretty lonely time. But we're going to remain calm, we're going to raise our hands, we're going to follow directions. All right, we're going to do whatever they say. We're not going to grab police officers, which is like a good rule in life, actually. Don't do that, right? In the book, we've got a link to a video called 480 Seconds. It's pretty good. It's definitely not 480 seconds, right? So clear out a solid 10 to 15 minutes of your life. But it's pretty good, but I'm not showing it to you because you're not going to make lunch if we do it, because it's not 480 seconds. It's not. All right, so what do we got? We got to recover. So look, right, remember, right, mom's rules, right? We left, we told them we're leaving, we told them where we're going, now we're coming home, we're going to tell them. All right, so whoever that might be. We're going to notify our contacts where we're going, we're going to tell them we get back. All right, we're going to do a structural check of our house or apartment. Like A, for obvious reasons, right, because we want to make sure it's not going to fall on you, right? But, you know, just want to make sure it's safe. All right, just want to make sure, it doesn't seem like we're that close to the water here. I don't know. I don't live in this particular town, right? Like in my town, like I live in Greenport. Like if we got floods, it's coming. Like it's coming. I grew up in Lawrence, like it's coming. You know what I mean? Like see Jamaica Bay, just coming right down the block. So, you know, you want to make sure, right? You want to make sure. Check your utilities. Look, and your appliances. So rule of thumb, like if there was water in your house, don't turn anything back on. Like don't, right? Because the ocean's full of salt and electricity and water like that. Just don't do it. All right? So Big Star was saying before, like people were coming after Hurricane Sandy. I was in the Rocky within the movie with Staten Island trying to fix over there, and people were coming in every day, and they were like, looks fine. And then it's just burning. Please don't go in your house. Please don't do this. Some nice lady would be like, you're a big dummy, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm going. And they turn on the house, all right, you know, it's American, you can do what you want. And then it would burn down. Like, to the point where they ended up turning like the grid off. Like it was wild. It was really pretty wild. So don't do it. Don't be that person. Dispose of waste, like, sure. I don't know, if my house gets trashed, I'm throwing all the stuff in the front yard, I don't care. But they'll figure it out. So look, but this stuff over here, the rest of it is important. All right? Document your damage and call the insurance company. Right? Because like most of us probably got kind of the same insurance company. Or they got the same person who's going to figure out how much money they need. Like how many insurance adjusters or whatever can there really be on now? 100, 1,000? It's like millions of us. You know what I mean? Like, get on the line. You know, it seems so silly, but absolutely. Please do that. Please do that. Be aware of any scams. You always see this, right, every year. Like that's by Channel 12, right? Keep hitting Channel 12. Some guy shows up with pickup trucks and, you know, give me 10 bars and I'll straighten out your whole yard or redo your roof, and they just rob them, right? If it sounds too good, it's too good. All right, so your emotional needs. Surviving disaster is physically and emotionally demanding. Look, take care of yourself, mentally and physically. All right, mentally and physically. Right, we didn't used to do any of that stuff when younger, right? I went forward the first couple times. Like I came home and went back to work, and I was like, well, it's pretty exciting, you know? Probably should see somebody, but I didn't because we didn't do that stuff. Right, now we do. It's probably for the best, believe me. All right, so get involved. So, get involved. Use your skill set, volunteer, answer phones, do stuff. Like, do stuff. right? One of the best ways to just help out, right? That's one of the things that makes us great as Americans. We're always helping each other out. So how do we do it? So first two up here, the Red Cross Salvation Army, fantastic. Look, I have been all over this world, and the Red Cross is always there when we need them. Like, they are great, just great. Salvation Army, also great. One of the things that's less great, right? Like every time there's a hurricane, like 500 people show up at my building and like, we want to do it. I'm like, do what, man? Like, what are you doing? Like, you don't even have my work boots. Like, I don't know. But they do, right? Because they want to help. And like, I appreciate that too, right? But you kind of gotta get involved a little bit before like the point of impact. You really do. But you can pair up with a buddy or somebody who needs some help. Here's like some great things. This CERT stuff I didn't know about until I took this job. It's really cool. Every county's got one, and they do all kinds of great training, great stuff. They're really a cool organization. AmeriCorps, Red Cross I talked about. Community, faith-based, sure. Volunteer firemen and EMS. Those guys are fantastic. Like, I don't know how they have to do all that stuff. That stuff's really great. God bless them. I mean, also, you know, what do we got up here? New York National Guard, we've got citizens, soldiers, and airmen. Like, soldiers are way cooler than the airmen, like so much cooler. I have airmen giant. And I guess it's our little plug here. Right, what do we got? We respond to disasters, and I don't know, we're within the communities, drill weekend a month, protect lives, sure, do all this stuff. That's what we do. And then we got the dishes folks here, and that's what they do. All right. This thing right here, if you take a picture of it, I always forget what it's called, but it brings up like websites and stuff. I don't know. It's in your book, but there it is again. Maybe it's two of them. I don't know. One up or the other. One of them does one of them does the other. It's all right. So look, really important things. Like I really want to stress in a way, like as we finish this up, because I got to get you guys rolling. I'm trying to keep you on time. Like resources are limited. That's why they're called resources. Right? So the idea, like, we want to try and help ourselves, right? Because you live in this really great town, you guys got this great center over here, and schools over there, right? And there's all these people, and how many people are really in your fire department? A couple hundred? How many people live in your town? 10,000? Right? So, it's in your balance, right? And that's kind of what it always is. So that's kind of what we're trying to get across here, right? We're trying to get you guys to, like, get a little bit of stuff, get kind of like change the way we think a little bit. You know what I mean? So that we kind of do a little bit ourselves, and then, like, if there's an emergency, call the emergency. Like, absolutely. But not everything is an emergency, and that's the idea. So you guys got any questions for us? Because we're wrapping this up. I'm going to give you guys a piece of paper and one of the bags and let you get some lunch.